Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today.
Welcome, AnnMarie.
Hi,
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm great. Today we have author AnnMarie SanSevero. Hopefully I got that pretty close to correct. Speculative fiction author, fantasy, science fiction with lots of mystery and spanning from middle grade to adult, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, what do you want to, you have a number of books out. You told me you have some fun middle grade coming up. Where do you want to start with all of this?
We will start with my short story collection that is currently out. It is called Butterfly Stroke and Other Stories. There are 6 of them in there. Some are novella length, some are shorter. And all of them have been entered into Writers of the Future and received either an honorable mention or semi-finalist. So they're my almost wins. and, but I love them very much. And so I wanted to get them out into the world. I have others that are in short story markets, like one is in a Superstars anthology. It's called Weird Wilderness, Cryptid Bestiary, which if you're familiar with the Superstars anthologies, they're charity anthologies that go to support their scholarship fund, and they each have very specific themes. And this one had to be all cryptids with an epistolary element in it. And
okay, there are so many terms in there. We're gonna have to. Okay, what is number one? What is a cryptid?
A cryptid's like those mythological Bigfoot, Loch Ness monster,
Okay.
Mothman, stuff like that. And epistolary is just like has to have some kind of writing, either text messages or letters.
Okay.
One that got in's even like a vlog, which is a really spooky one. And so they're good. And I love that the Superstars anthologies because they go to support new writers who are trying to get to the conference. And then I have another short story in Sallyport magazine that is a later story for one of the ones in my Butterfly Stroke. So
Ooh.
yeah, I had written the one that's in Sallyport, and it had also gotten an honorable mention in Writers of the Future, but I had sold it before I put this collection together. And so as I was writing that one, I fell in love with the characters and thought, you know what, I'm going to make this into a series at some point, maybe a novel. So I needed an origin story. So their origin story is in the Butterfly Stroke. Yes.
Neat. So, okay, I want to dig into each one a little more so readers will know, is this for me? Is this not for me? Start with the Butterfly Stroke. Adult, young adult, where is that
Adult.
falling? Adult.
It could be young adult too, because some of the characters are younger. So I would say anywhere from YA to adult. And let's be honest, a lot of adults read YA anyway.
I mean, I guess, is it okay for a young adult person to pick this up?
Everything I write is clean. And so there's nothing that a parent would be like, oh, I didn't want my teenager seeing that yet or exposed to that. Everything's clean. So let's see. I don't necessarily will get these in order, but I can tell you about each of the stories. The first one, the Butterfly Stroke, the lead story, is about a young woman who was an Olympic swimmer who ended up a quadriplegic. And she, lost her identity. She lost her focus in life. And she is going to be the first person to have the human trials of what is called the butterfly in this world. And I based it on, this was when Elon Musk's Neuralink had just started being publicized and it was about to go into human trials. And so I started thinking about that and thought, well, what if instead of just a Neuralink that helped people move visually things on screen, what if we created a stent on the spine underneath the brake that could communicate wirelessly with the Neuralink so that they could walk again. So she is the first person to get this, and maybe Elon will read the story and go, hey, that's a good idea. Let's help quadriplegics. But things go awry because, it's a science fiction story and it'd be really boring if nothing went wrong. So, and she has to make some tough choices as a result of what happens. And I can tell you enough to say that the increased neural activity creates a subset in her brain that develops its own persona.
Oh,
and,
no, that's scary.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. And so she has to make some tough choices about that. Let's see, another one is The Heresy of Peace. I love this story, was so precious to me because we live in such a contentious world right now, not just in our own country, but like worldwide. And I was watching the news and I was really sad and decided I was going to take a break from the news and was watching Babylon 5 instead. And one of the characters made an offhanded comment about the plague back in the Middle Ages when the people who were affected by it started killing off the cats, thinking the plague was caused by the devil and the cats are the devil's familiars. But they ended up killing the thing that could have helped prevent the spread of the plague because they need cats to get rid of rats and the fleas and all that stuff. And so I started thinking about what if two people with two races with generational hate had a problem where one of them was developing a plague and the solution was their enemy, and how that would work. And so I created a religion around it where they would have a problem sharing their blood with the other group. And so there's a lot about forgiveness and sacrifice and what it takes to bring two people together or two groups of people together. And that one still makes me cry when I read it. It does have a happy ending. Yeah. So, and then I have a more funny kind of one called, all of a sudden I lost what it's called. I can tell you what it's about.
That's good enough for me.
It's called A Living Client. And it's about this detective who can see spirits. And when that gets out, nobody wants him as a private eye anymore because they think he's a lunatic. And he has this, like, his assistant is this haunted femur that he nicknamed Luke Skywalker. And he only gets to have, like, his most of his clients now are people who've already passed on and they're trying to find help for themselves. So his bills are stacking up, and this woman stumbles in who needs to find her birth mother. And she's only come to him because she's desperate. She's tried every other possibility. No one can find her, and she needs someone who thinks outside of a box. And no one thinks outside of a box better than someone who talks to spirits and has an assistant named Luke Skywalker. And so it's about family and connection and sacrifice. All of them have this sacrifice theme, I guess. I'm really mean to my characters, but let's see. Then there is Shattered, which I wrote because I've got a YA in the works about a community of genetically engineered twins who have powers that are dependent on their twin. And in one of the opening scenes, the main character sees her mother do something that shatters someone's mind. And I was exploring that idea. So I was writing this story about a group of scions in a future world. And one of them gets kidnapped from her scion school because she has a special ability that they're looking for to help heal shattered minds. And so what it would take to go into someone's mind and put the pieces back together that another scion has destroyed. So that one is about those things and the need for family and connection, and how she uses the things she sees in his mind to make him feel at peace while she's trying to put it together. It's a tough one because she's difficult situation. Her family was depending on her graduating the science school to get them out of poverty, and now she's not even there. And so if she doesn't help them, they're going to wipe her memory. So she has no chance of going back. So she can either help them but either way, she feels like her family's hope is gone. And so that one has some elements of um, learning to do what's right despite the consequences to yourself and people you love. And then let's see, untethered. I hope I'm remembering all of these. It's hard. I don't even know how many I've said at this point.
You haven't
Untethered.
repeated any, I can tell you that.
Okay, yay. Untethered is actually the origin story for my one I told you about earlier in Sallyport magazine. That one's called The Problem with Control. And I love these characters. It's a young man named Phineas who doesn't have a family. He grew up in a children's home and, aged out and is kind of living in poverty. And he had an imaginary friend growing up that was a dragon that would turn into a cat anytime he tried to show him to someone else. And it turns out that wasn't imaginary, that was a real creature from another place. And they team up to help people in need and destroy monsters and things like that. And in this case, they are going to rescue the one person in his children's home that made him feel loved. She was another girl there who was a little older, and he had a crush on her, but she was older, so it was just a kid boy crush kind of thing. And he's got to go tell her that these creatures that are made like from ball lightning. Have you ever seen ball lightning before?
I don't know.
So I don't know if you could, I'm a little bit of a science nerd, but they're these round things of lightning that have like tethered strike things
Oh,
coming
right.
out.
And when you touch them, like the current goes to your finger or something like
Well,
that?
that's like the Tesla thing, but this is
Okay.
like actual type of lightning from the sky,
Oh, okay.
and it floats around. It's really cool looking. But in this story, they're actually alien creatures that are trying to inhabit other people. And this one is pretending to be Abigail's mother. And so he's got to rescue her, but he's going to lose her friendship as a result or risk losing her friendship as a result, because in her mind,
That's
she's
her mother,
thinking,
right?
yeah, he's saying we're your only chance. And so I think I'm sure I'm forgetting one or two, but
We have a flavor. I mean, I
yes.
want to read all of them already. So,
So I love them, and I have a desire to write stories that give people courage and make them feel more resilient and let them know that they can do things they didn't think they could do beforehand. So whenever I'm writing a story, that's what I hope people get, is that they're stronger than they think they are, and can do things that are hard.
I love those themes.
Yeah, most of them have happy endings. That's the one that didn't. That's might be a spoiler alert. Memory Ghost does not have, that's one I did not mention, does not have a happy ending. It's about a woman who was the first brain graft patient, and she was in a coma, and part of someone else's brain was grafted into hers, and she starts experiencing that woman's memories and finds out that her donor was murdered. So through those memories, she solves the murder. So there's some happy things in it, but it does have a twist at the end that is probably my least happy ending ever.
Sometimes you need a twist. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all of them. And I'm going to keep entering writers in the future until I either win or pro out. I'm really close to proing out, so I got to win soon. We'll see what happens.
Well, you're a winner in progress. That's what we're going to say.
That's right. So I love magic. I love science, and I like combining them both. And sometimes I think magic is actually science we haven't figured out yet. So
You are a woman after my own heart, I have to say, because you're speaking my language here.
there you go.
Do you have a science background?
Only in that, so I've homeschooled 4 kids for 26 years.
Oh, yes, you
And
have a science background then.
yes. And, a lot of times, so in homeschooling, most of the time, families will like homeschool in elementary school and maybe junior high and then put them into high school for the last few years in like a private or public school. I'm the parent who I put up with the early years because I really like getting to the advanced stuff. So once my kids were like in calculus and chemistry, and I was like, that was my happy place. And so a lot of times other homeschool parents would hire me to teach their kids the advanced classes. And so in my house, I have 2 professional microscopes, I have beakers, test tubes, all these things, and lots of chemicals that are all legal in case there's police watching. So now that my kids are all grown, I plan on doing some experiments myself of some things I'm interested in, and hopefully not blow up my house. But so that's my only science background, is just teaching and loving it and reading stuff online all the time and lurking on DARPA's website to find out all the cool, creepy stuff they're doing. Um, so, do you enjoy science yourself?
Yeah, I have a science background. I have like a microbiology background, so that's why I was wondering.
I love that. So I can't tell you everything on this about this one because it's being judged right now by writers of the future, but I will say I was in close contact with a microbiologist on this story and did a ton of research anyway, I'll have to tell you after I find out if it wins or not, but it's an anonymous competition. So if they figure out it's me, I'll be booted out. So,
Nope, we won't do anything like that. So.
yes.
Fun.
I will say that that I have a middle grade series coming up that I mentioned to you earlier, and it is a fantasy steampunk mix. But in the fantasy, there's a lot of the fantasy magic. Some of it's based on science, and they get to use chemical formulas to create things with their little wand. It's called like an enderal, and so they're having to learn how to balance equations to do it and stuff. Now I don't have the kids reading it do that because that'd be so crazy boring. But
they'd be like, no, I don't want to be in school right now. I'm
right.
doing this for fun.
But there is fun when one of the kids gets the equation wrong, and the result of what happens, it's so it's fun. And I based it on a comment one of my children made to me. And this was, I won't say which child. I had 4 kids from a single home, so I raised them by myself. And one of my kids was being very rude to me. Like kids do that, and
It happens.
or at least mine did. Maybe everybody else's kids are perfect. And I had said, I don't understand why you're speaking to me this way. I don't think you would talk to your dad this way when you're at his house. Am I correct in that? And this child said, you're right. And I said, well, is there something about me that you are lacking respect? Like, why are you speaking to me this way when you wouldn't otherwise? And they made the comment, because I know you'll love me anyway.
Aww.
And that sort of broke my heart a little. And I wanted to write a story for younger kids that help them understand that you can love both parents, even if they're completely different. And accepting one doesn't mean you're rejecting the other, because they're both part of who you are. And so in this story, the young boy is the son of the national hero. No one is allowed to talk about his mother. He doesn't know anything about her. And they're in a kingdom that rejected magic for the more noble art of machines. And so there's a lot of cool gadgets, and they pass notes with little mechanical spiders or flying bird that they created. And when he turns 12, a magical rune shows up on his wrist, which marks him as being from the kingdom they rejected. And it's illegal. He's trying to hide it. He's also trying to figure out what the heck is going on. and eventually finds out that his mother was from that kingdom. And his father didn't know it until after she passed away. And because of that betrayal that he felt, that's why he cut off all memory of her. And so he's discovering who he is while learning about this other part of his heritage. And then his father disappears while on a mission. And the only way for him to rescue his father is to use the old magic that will likely cost him his father's love. And to make it worse, he has to go on the quest with his school nemesis, which is like his worst nightmare. So anyway, it's fun, and it's a lot about how we have initial impressions of people that are completely wrong, and how he and his nemesis feel about each other. They realize they had both misjudged one another. And so I love that, unexpected friendships.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And yeah, super cool story. I love all that's going on in that. For people who might not know what steampunk is as a genre, give us a little background.
It's like fake Victorian age stuff where they have all these cool machines. Everything's based steam powered weapons, and I'm trying to think of what's the name of that show that Sean Connery was in. That's a great example of steampunk.
Oh, was it with the car, the flying car?
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Or I think Jules Verne kind of stuff is a lot of steampunk things. So it's machines and steam and Victorian age kind of technology on steroids kind of thing. So, but this is more, it's much more fantasy oriented, with the machines as an underpinning element, just because of what the world he currently lives in. But at the same time, he's learning magic in secret through one of his teachers who's helping him rebel and stuff. So things like
I'm
that.
getting like Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz type vibes.
Okay.
So, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but
yeah.
I don't know if you read the whole series.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
It's not quite as dark as that one is, but it's I can see where you could get that vibe. There's a lot of cool things in it. Like they have wingsuits where they fly and learn to navigate, and there's someone who's trying to kill him, which is in Wizard of Oz, so that would be an element. Because it's middle grade, obviously he doesn't die.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for
also,
that.
That'd be a very short series as well. So, but
well, that sounds super fun.
Yeah.
Very cool. And how did you get into writing? How did you become an author?
Well, I was always a reader, a huge reader, even when I was a little girl. And reading was kind of my escape from real life. And I'd wanted to write, but as a mom of 4 kids, raising them by myself, and I didn't have a lot of extra time. I was working 3 part-time jobs to survive and homeschooling them, because I'm not crazy about my city's public school system, and I just wanted them to have the best education I could give them. And so I was exhausted, and writing was kind of on the back burner. I think it was when my youngest hit junior high that I realized, if I don't start doing this now, it'll never happen. And I'm getting old. So I started writing. I talked to my kids about it first. I said, I've had this dream, but it'll mean me putting some time aside. And I already get so little time with you guys. So I just wanted to make sure, I don't mind waiting, but I'd also kind of like to start, even if it's just for 15 minutes a day. And that's what we started with, 15 minutes a day of me typing. And as they got older, I could stretch that a little more because, they're in high school and they're gone most of the time anyway. And so eventually I got to where I completed a book. And then I started writing short stories because I learned about writers of the future, and all those things are just now starting to come together for me.
Yeah, that's very cool. I mean, I don't think I have that many ideas to write that many short stories, and definitely a short story can be a different beast a little bit than a novel can be. You have to be so succinct and have your characters really and your plot really tight. But I think that genre is really fun for a lot of reasons. And we don't often have time to sit down and read full-length novels a week.
Yeah.
It would take us months sometimes with the limited time we have. So those short stories can be for me, sometimes they can feel really good because I can feel like I finished the story in like a decent amount of time.
Yes. And you can experiment with genres that you don't usually read because you're not committing to a whole novel of it.
Right.
And so you could see if you like it. I had never thought about writing short stories until I talked to Jonathan Mayberry. He writes the Joe Ledger series that starts with patient. I mean, he writes a lot of stuff. I know of his Joe Ledger series, and it's about to be a Netflix series as well. But he had this class at Superstars where I go for my writers conference every year on why write short stories. And I was like, well, I think it's a waste of time. So I'm going to go to this class so he could tell me why I'm wrong. Yeah. And he gave some great reasons. One was you can test out ideas for your novel. Because if you can't make it work as a short story, you can't make it work as a novel. And then you don't waste 2 years or a year, you waste, a week. And so that was really practical, and I'm a pragmatist. So that was one. He also said it helps with your pacing and it improves your writing faster than anything else. And because I was always already feeling old and behind on the game, I was like, well, if something can improve me faster, I'm all for that. And he also said, and this was kind of interesting, TV shows and movies, when they're looking for new writers, often look at short story collections and anthologies to find new writers because they can look at a bunch of writers at once instead of just, one novel and stuff. And that doesn't mean if you write a short story, you're going to get a movie contract. But I liked the fact that it did improve my pacing, for one. It helped me to learn to write concise, and it has shown me which ideas are worth expanding, because there's a few in that short story collection that I'm going to expand into novels because of how it ended up in the story and how much I loved the world. There was one I had no intention of making into a novel until I did this interview with someone, and they were like, we were on the edge of our seat with this, and please tell us you're making it into a full novel. We really want to see this one. And I was like, well, that was what I didn't plan on, but maybe now I will. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Sometimes what readers will pick up on versus like where we might lean.
Yes. So, and I know you said it's hard. My problem with ideas is I have so many. Like I have a database of story ideas.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't think I'll run out.
That's amazing. Well, tell us where we can find you and your books.
Yes, my books, you can find me on Amazon. Butterfly Stroke is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and it's widely distributed. So it's also like on Kobo and Apple and all that other stuff. I have a website, sansevero.com, which is hard to spell. So you could just look at my name on this thing here. And that has everything that I've got out right now. And I keep it updated as new stuff comes out.
It's fun. Well, that's amazing. I will love to have you back and dig more into this middle grade book that to be coming out soon when you release it. And we'll have all the links in the description for everybody that's listening to the podcast so they can find you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I just kept rambling about stories, but
no, that is the whole point to this story, all about you and your books. So I think we definitely accomplished that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you for being here, AnnMarie. Take care.
You too. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Finding the Magic podcast. I'm your host, author and podcaster Tricia Copeland, and I love getting behind the scenes. If you like the podcast, make sure to subscribe and stop in each week to discover new authors and books. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep finding the magic.